Welcome. We're saying keep microphones off. There'll be an opportunity to switch mics on at the end. But for now, we're saying keep mics off, and up to you whether you put camera on or off. Um, well, as it's a minute past, I think we'll make a start. So welcome everyone. Lovely to see you. Everyone is here by invitation. And you're here for our first Tuesday toolkit at 12. We're planning to do these once a month. And we are delighted that you're joining us. And I just want to introduce my colleagues. And so, Mike, why don't you say who you are and where you're dialing in from this morning?
Well, first things first, great to see you all. You're very welcome. Thanks for coming. Yeah, so my name is Mike, and a little bit about me. I started life as a corporate finance lawyer. Uh, I dabbled with stand-up comedy, would you believe, and went into church leadership. And over those years, I've always been doing some coaching or other. So it's great to be here and good to see you all.
And Lydia, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Simon. Hello, everybody. Really lovely to see you. My name's Lydia. I'm based in Eastbourne. I have a background in education and then joined Giant about 5 years ago and have been a leadership consultant since and thoroughly enjoy what I do. So looking forward to sharing some of our expertise with you.
Great. And for those who don't know me, my name's Simon. I'm based in Oxfordshire. We've all sort of put a picture up of where we are in the country. And I've been with Giant for about a year doing the training and more recently started as a Giant consultant. And we're here. Well, Mike, what are we hoping to achieve in the next 15 minutes?
Well, what we're hoping to achieve is to examine one of the Giant tools. And basically, Giant have a whole load of coaching tools, and they're really powerful, really effective. They've actually been designed for a 13-year-old who's intelligent to understand. That doesn't mean they're really simple. It does mean they're actually quite profound, but very accessible. And so what we're going to be doing is each month looking at one of these tools, and I think I'm handing over to Lydia to talk about which tool we're going to look at this month. I hope that's right, Lydia.
Absolutely right. Thanks, Mike. Yes, so there are nearly 70 tools available. So we're going to look, as Mike said, at one each week. And today we're going to look at one called Know Yourself to Lead Yourself. Sounds self-explanatory. In many ways it is, but I'm excited to take you through that. So let me share my screen with you. This is the tool. Hopefully you can all see that okay. It's, as you can see, it's called Know Yourself to Lead Yourself because the idea behind this is if you really, really know yourself, you can lead yourself. And when you can lead yourself, you can lead others. And the problem often is people don't really know themselves very well. They're in positions of leadership and they don't know how to lead others as effectively as they could. They might be okay, they might get through, but actually there's always room for improvement. And what you can see down here is there are tendencies. And everybody has tendencies. And in a few weeks' time, we're going to show you the voices, which is something really key to what we have at Giant. And in each voice has tendencies and they are hardwired. Our tendencies just don't change. And they come up at particular times, in particular ways, and form patterns. And then we choose actions. And our actions have consequences, and our consequences shape our reality. So what we're looking for with Know Yourself to Lead Yourself is to be able to understand what our tendencies are and be able to preempt them and choose different actions, because our tendencies won't change. When they happen, won't change. The only area where we have real control and choice is in our actions, which we can choose better actions that have a better consequence and shape our reality to be more prosperous and happy. Hopefully, that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to give you an example in a moment, but first of all, just to show you that our leadership behaviors are made up of three things. They're made up of our nature, and that's our hardwired tendencies that we're going to look at today. There's also our nurture, which is all the external influences that kind of pour into who we are. So our upbringing, our faith, our gender, all sorts of things are affecting the way we behave, and our choices are the third one. It should be an even split. It's not, because nurture plays such a heavy part. But somewhere deep in there is our nature. And when you put these three together, you get our leadership behaviors. So we want to look at our nature tendencies today, and you can start listing them. We'll all have hundreds. Some of our tendencies might be really good. Others will be less good. So I'm going to show you an example of one of my tendencies and how I have gone one way when I've been accidental in my leadership of myself, and then when I've chosen to be a bit more intentional and choose actions in a conscious way. So here is my tendency. One of my tendencies is I have a tendency to agree to things and say yes and not really ask for help. So that might happen when I'm asked to do something. So they'll say, oh, Lydia, can you help with this? And my tendency is to want to help people. So I go, yes, that's fine. And I don't necessarily think about whether I have the capacity to do that. And I just, because I want to help people, and I just agree and think, oh, yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, of course, I can help here. So the problem is, the action is I take on more than I have capacity for by saying yes. The consequence of that isn't great, because what I do is I run around trying to do everything for everybody, and invariably I don't do any one thing as well as I could. It's like spreading too little butter on a slice of toast. It just goes really thin and is kind of ineffective. You can't taste it. It's not very good. And that shapes my reality. And unfortunately, my reality is when I do this is I undermine my influence, because I haven't delivered as well as I could have done and as I would have liked. It also means often that I end up burnt out and I disappoint people because and I'm frustrated with myself, and I disappoint people because I haven't done kind of what I said I would do to the level I say I would do it. So that's sort of something I realized during my journey with Giant. And I thought, right, I need to change this. So when I became aware of the know yourself to lead yourself, I decided, okay, well, then my tendency is not going to change. I'm always going to want to help people, say yes, agree, go along with it, fine. And when it happens, again, isn't going to change. But where I can bring change is in my actions. And I have chosen now, and I still work at it, but I've chosen to do this. If I'm caught off guard when somebody says, hey, Lydia, could you help with this? Could you do this? I now don't say yes straight away. I ask if I can get back to them. And that buys me just a little bit of time to think about a more considered response. Do I have time? Have I got capacity? Is this the wisest time, place, everything to do? Rather than committing on the spot. So I have that time to formulate a response where I can politely decline, or I can delay. I can say, I'd love to help you, but I can't do anything for 2 months. I hope that's okay. The consequence of that is nobody has ever said to me, ugh, Lydia, you're so selfish, which would be a fear that I would have deep down. They completely understand, and I'm no longer overwhelmed, which is a brilliant result. And actually, the reality that that leads to is I can do what I do well, really well, and people see that. And then they don't question my competence or my credibility, and I don't undermine my influence. So it's made a huge difference. And what we're going to encourage you to do is to think about what your tendencies are. It might be completely different. You might be somebody who just says no, and that's absolutely fine. But we all have tendencies, whether it's we talk too much, we talk too little, we always want to intervene, we want to fix things, whatever they are, they're there and they won't go away. But what we do as a result of those is what we can change. I use this with my coaching clients, and they are hugely grateful for it. Here's just a quick example of someone that I've worked with who has a tendency to be passive aggressive and not give their opinion when needed. It's occurring all the time. She holds back. Then she loses confidence and people don't listen to her. So we work through this kind of unhealthy one to create a healthy one where she goes with her guts and speaks up, recognizes that it's probably going to be less painful to confront on the spot than to have to unpick everything later. And she started living this out. And it's been really, really helpful for her to see how she has a choice, because I think a lot of people think, oh, we're just going to carry on. This is how it's always been. but we all have a choice. And it's so important to recognize that, to think about our tendencies, and to take control where we can, which is in the actions area. So that's an example of how I've used it. Mike, have I missed anything? Do you have any clarifying questions there on the Know Yourself to Lead Yourself tool?
Well, if you struggle to say no, Lydia, I'd like to borrow £1,000 off you. Is that possible?
Do you know what? I'm going to get back to you on that one. I'll just
You're so selfish. It's terrible.
Thank you, Mike.
Being serious, I think one of my questions on this would be how much can you know yourself? Or yeah, the more you know yourself, the more effective you are at leading yourself. Any comments on that?
Yeah, that's a great point. And actually, it ties in with the idea that this is an infinity loop. Because we say that you actually never graduate from the school of self-learning. We're always learning. You can certainly get better, whether you'll all get to a point where you absolutely know everything about yourself perfectly, probably not. But the more you know yourself, the better you will be at leading yourself and leading others. So it's an ongoing journey. And I think when I started, I was like, oh, I think I know myself pretty well. And then I realized, oh, no, I don't. And it's just been an ongoing journey, which is absolutely fine. And it's helped so much. So, yeah, really encourage people to keep looking at this and working out what your tendencies are.
Yeah, I read something a couple of days ago in the Harvard Business Review that said 85 to 90% of people think they know themselves, but actually the real figure is 15%, or they said 13 to 15%. That slightly freaked me out because I'm someone who thinks I know myself quite well, but actually, obviously I don't. So I'm feeling a bit paranoid now. So hopefully that will build and I'll lead more effectively.
You will, no doubt. And I think it's encouraging actually to hear those figures because we need to know that we think we're better at this than we are. And actually, you have to be really intentional in choosing to recognize your tendencies and then change actions because otherwise we'll just bumble along as we've always been thinking we're brilliant, but we're not.
Mike, Lydia, thank you so much. Lydia is our A-team teacher, which is, why we got her in week one. But thank you so much. Mike, can I ask you in a moment just to share how you've learned, how this tool has benefited you? Before I do, I should have said right at the start, if anyone has got any questions, please do feel free to put them in the chat and we will look to answer them in the last couple of minutes of our session. We are going to finish promptly at 20, the teaching part at 20 past. But if you want to stay on for a minute or two and open up your microphone and ask any specific questions, we're going to leave a little bit of time at the end for that as well. But if you have any that you want to put in the chat, do. Mike, how have you benefited from this tool yourself?
Well, I've obviously got thousands and thousands of positive tendencies, but I'll give you an example of a more challenging one or a negative one. So when I've been leading teams, I've noticed or become aware that if I get feedback that's critical, I can get a bit defensive. So that would be a tendency, that would be a pattern. And really the consequence of that is that sometimes people haven't given me good feedback because I think it won't land well or might get defensive. And so my reality might be on occasions or has been on occasions that yeah, I don't get really good honest feedback from the team or really what they really feel or think if it's going to be slightly challenging to hear. And so becoming aware of that has enabled me to change that pattern. And a bit like Lydia, I've learned when I that tendency is triggered just to say, oh, thank you for that feedback. That's really, really helpful. Anything else to say? And I bite my tongue and just try and hold off. And then I find I give a much more considered response. And I noticed in the teams I've led actually that that's produced a much healthier team. So it's a small example, but actually it makes a big difference. And that know yourself to lead yourself has helped me in that way.
Yeah, and at Giant, part of what we try to do as coaches is to help people to understand themselves better. And some of the future tools we'll be looking at, in particular, our Five Voices tool, really helps people to understand some of their tendencies. And for me, this Know Yourself to Lead Yourself, through using Five Voices, I realized that I have a tendency in meetings, if my vision is being challenged or if I feel my competency is being challenged, I react badly. And I wish I had done this 12 years ago, because it would have saved me in a few meetings from saying things that I then had to draw back from significantly. And so again, just recognizing that if someone is questioning me, they're not necessarily questioning my competence or my vision. They're simply asking a question, and that I just need to take a bit longer to listen, to not become defensive, has again just meant it's been a much better a better way to lead meetings. And as I say, I wish I'd known it sooner. It certainly helped my team leading as I went through that. So that's Know Yourself to Lead Yourself. We've got 4 minutes before we're finishing the formal part. Mike or Lydia, any final reflections? And indeed, if anybody has any questions, please do pop them in the chat, and we'd love to answer those. And then we will have a few minutes if anybody wants to stay on and ask questions. But Michael, Lydia, any final things you'd like to say while we're waiting?
I would say that I would encourage you to identify a few tendencies. Maybe just one, just to work on one. We don't want to overwhelm people, but sometimes just going, okay, what is going on? And if you don't know what your tendency is, start at the end, start at the consequences and go, well, people always do this or treat me like this or don't listen. Work backwards and go, what am I doing? When does that happen? What's my tendency? And you'll start to see, and it's really powerful. So I would encourage you to list a tendency or two, and if you don't know, ask those around you. I'm sure they'll be very helpful.
Yeah, I was going to suggest getting some feedback from people who you know are for you, who you trust, who'll give you good feedback. But that's a really important thing, because I think often our sense of knowing ourselves well comes from our own judgment or our own perception. But actually, it's getting that feedback from others that really can sharpen our knowledge of ourselves and therefore our performance.
Thank you. Thanks both. And yes, and again, please do reach out to us if you'd like to find out more about the tools, or if we can help you in any of these ways. We are going to do this every first Tuesday of the month for 20 minutes. We're going to stick to 20 minutes. Next month, we are going to teach our clarifying communication tool, provisional plan promise. I have found this one so helpful in my team leadership and my team expectancy. And so that's going to be what we're going to look at on the 6th of May, Tuesday, the 6th of May at 12. Thank you very much for being our pioneer group. Please do let us have feedback. You all know at least one of us, so do drop any thoughts back. This has been recorded, and we will be sending the link out to everyone who's here, and indeed to some others who couldn't be here but asked for the link ahead of time. But thank you for joining us, and if you now want to stay on, you're welcome to, but if you need to go to what is on the rest of your day, it's 12:19. We did it in 20 minutes. So there we go. Thanks for joining us. And by all means, do open up your microphone if you want to stay, or do head off if you now need to head off. But thanks for coming.